9826 or 954-394-1411 and ask to speak to Tommy, the owner. They specialize in all kinds of roofs, led by their highly crafted, skilled, and professional roof mechanics. All of their previous customers have an opportunity to enter their bi-weekly drawings to receive free an exterior impact metal door. Please call for more details. That's Tommy B. Butts Jr. Enterprises.com, 954-735-9826 or 954-394-1411. Trust Tommy to fortify and protect what's most important to you, your family.
Red, an infrared light, has the capacity to penetrate deep into the cell's mitochondria, potentially leading to increased energy, faster recovery, and the optimal performance your body demands. Red Recover can maximize your efforts by potentially improving cellular metabolism, blood circulation, and muscle recovery. Evolve your training and step into the new era of muscle recovery. Red Recover.
Alrighty then, we bring you in. Having a little technical difficulties here. Apologize for that. We will get them taken care of, and now they look like they are gone. It is Sean Stanley here at the Miami Garden studio, watching a little NXT, but it's time for the Tuesday Night Talk right here on the Big O Radio Show YouTube channel. A lot to get to. There was a pay-per-view this weekend, Forbidden Door. There was Raw. John Cena returns. Vinnie Mac makes another entry, I guess, out. Didn't come out on SmackDown. I don't recall him coming out on SmackDown, but he did come back out on Raw because he had to introduce Mr. Cena. And it was John Cena's 20th year in the WWE. Interesting things that happened on that. You saw the Big Show, who is now Paul White. You saw Y2J, which of course is Chris Jericho, and you saw Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan at that time. They did get the okay from Tony Khan to go ahead and record some messages and send. WWE did reach out, and AEW approved everything. Steve Chapman, I always acknowledge you, my man. I always acknowledge you. Dad, how you doing, sir? And Frankie Fresco already in. He was actually first in there. Let's go wrestling. Yes, a little wrestling talk here. Let's stick with the WWE where we were at. Money in the Bank is this Saturday. Remember, it is Saturday night. Shush, please. Shush, please. I can't even do it that way. That's one of the great things, man. That is one of the good things. But don't forget, because I had honestly forgotten. I had actually, talking to my better half, was like, Sunday we got the pay-per-view. Sunday's the pay-per-view, and it's actually Saturday night, July 2nd, is the pay-per-view, Money in the Bank. Looks like there's one person to be filled still in the men's, as Riddle punched his ticket. He won the Battle Royal at the beginning of the night. And then Becky Lynch powered through and won the women's. So the women's side is already full now. Still one opening, as I said, in the men's side. Cody cut a promo, and he said that he had hoped Hunter Butler. Hey, Sean, first time joining outside Outside Show. Put on a show, dude. I always try, man. I try. We're talking wrestling, so, I got to get a little into it every once in a while. Why did Cena not smack the crap out of Fury? You mean Theory? I think they're going to try to stretch that out a little bit, because I think what happened is, I think Cena's probably got a movie going on right now, because it's kind of odd that you would bring Cena in and not have him touch anybody. But one of the reasons they're not allowed to do the touching is because it will throw off the filming if, for instance, Cena twisted an ankle or anything like that. So they get the okay as long as there's no contact. You saw Theory come up to him and do the his old Theory entrance thing. He went to take the selfie, turns around, Cena's gone. He did the same thing with Seth Rollins, and then Omos comes out and standing over him, and then he taps Rollins on the back and says, "Hey, good luck with that." And then he leaves. And then he was out doing the promo. Nobody interfered. The only thing I can think of is, again, he might have some movies to shoot or some scenes to shoot still, so they did not have him touch, but they wanted him there, of course, 20 years in WWE, and then also show his face leading up towards SummerSlam, maybe Royal Rumble, wherever they think they can probably get him in. Miz also said another celebrity that will be returning back, Logan Paul, will be coming back for SummerSlam as well. So we'll see how that goes out. Again, he said he was going to team up with them. They had squashed the beef that they had because remember, Miz turns on him at the end of the WrestleMania match after they beat the Mysterios. Gives them the A-lister. Leaves them laying at the end of their match with let's see, Cena already accomplished more than Theory, so there'd be no point. Yeah, but I mean, Theory is new into the WWE, whereas Cena's been there for 20 years. It's kind of like WWE and AEW. WWE's been around forever. Yeah, it was WWF, it was WWF, it was everything else. AEW's only been there for 3, but it's going to be Theory and Cena hooking up. I can guarantee that, because Cena will probably be passing the torch on to Theory, because right now that is who WWE sees down the line. Again, right now it's Roman Reigns, of course, but down the line they think Theory might be that next step out superstar. I'm not necessarily set on that, but that's what their thinking is. Steve said, sorry, but I've seen enough of Theory. He's cut from the same cloth as Miz. I wouldn't say that. He's a lot more athletic than Miz. He can talk. He has the look. Again, right now he's still getting his feet wet on some things. He kind of reminds me of a young Seth Rollins, I guess, but Seth came in with the Shield. So he had the 2 other guys to kind of, no pun intended, shield him from some of that. Theory's at it all by himself out there going at it. And again, he'll be able to build on weight. He'll be able to, all that stuff that they're going to ultimately do for him. But the one thing he's got is he's got the charisma, and he has that, to me, the it factor. He does have it, because when you see him, you just instantly hate him. You're like, oh, you little smug bastard. You want to reach to the TV and grab him by the neck. That's what you're looking for. Just like, I know people go after the Miz and everything else, but dude, he's got it. They can't bring back Bad Bunny, man. Who's he going to team with? Damian Priest went to the Judgment Day. We could put him with, I guess, Mysterio. And speaking of which, it looks like they're finally going to do the Dominic Mysterio turn on his dad, Ray. Maybe bring him in with Judgment Day. We'll see how that goes. We'll keep looking at that. They're going to take on the July 4th edition of Raw. It will be the Mysterios taking on Judgment Day. See if at that point they don't do something there. I'll be Street's antagonist as Miz. They both. But the thing with Theory is that's always been his gimmick. They brought him in as, they brought him in as Gargano's, when they were doing that whole thing in NXT, as kind of like the son. Indy Hartwell was the daughter, and they're doing all the stupid stuff with them. I think this is more him. This is Theory. Again, the best characters, if you want to call it that, for wrestling is the fact that it's an extension of themselves. It's an amped up edition of Austin Theory. I think this is more along the lines of what Austin Theory is. He's a pretty confident guy. He's a very confident guy. Any news on Adam Cole injury? Heard he got a concussion, but was he supposed to wrestle Blood and Guts? He wasn't in the Blood and Guts match. I don't know that if he was on that card, but I doubt that he'll be I doubt that he will be involved in the card at all. He's no more word than what has been out. It's a concussion. It was a head injury, and they're gonna stick with it and go. The thing that I found odd about the whole thing was again, he was supposed to take a couple moves and then get pinned. They ended it a little bit earlier. I found it odd that it was always going to be Jay White pinning Adam Cole. I found that odd in the whole thing, but I guess, again, it's a lot of politics and everything there. I think Judgment Day is going to get their play. That short-haired blonde. Oh, Rhea Ripley. Okay, winning me over a week with that finisher she has. Yeah, Riptide. Or I'm not sure if she's still calling it Riptide now that she's with Judgment Day. I don't know if they made it a new move, but yeah, no, Rhea Ripley's she's got the look. Again, she's got a look, and man, she's very talented in the ring, very athletic, and she looks different too. That helps her stand out. That's the one thing that the problem I had with a lot of WWE back in the day, WWE, is just everybody was all the female performers looked the same, acted the same, did the same thing. All the male performers, same thing. It was just cookie cutters. You might have Batista that's a little taller, a little wider, Randy Orton. They're all built cookie cuttered the same way to me. I like it better when you can start seeing, a little bit of difference in some of the looks and the physiques. And you're starting to see that a little bit more. I'm glad that, you're getting the Rhea Ripleys, the Nikki ASH. I mean, you got to have the mix of the talls, the shorts, Dewdrop, again, the different look. They're all very talented in their own ways. They can all do different things. And ultimately, I think it's helped kind of shape the women's division in the WWE. Now, is it as good as it can be? No, I don't think so. Not yet. But I think ultimately you're going to get Charlotte Flair coming back. You're going to get Bayley coming back. I'm not sure what they're doing with Naomi right now. Not even sure what they're doing with Sasha Banks right now. Supposedly, apparently she was released. She got her hair a different look from what she was with WWE. But nothing's been officially put out as far as for a statement or anything like that. So we'll have to see where that goes as well. But to me, the women's division is getting better. It's getting more solid. It's getting more TV time, which is helping, I think, build it a little bit more too. But also there's some great performers there as well. Why doesn't WWE give Dewdrop a bigger role? I think she could be a very good heel. She was a very good heel. She was actually a babyface over, I think it's ICW. Is that the federation over in the UK? She was Piper Niven. But I heard she did get the 24/7, but I think she dropped it again. I'm not sure, man. There's so much damn 24/7 title changes on a dime. I think Dana Brooke got it back, but she was in a car accident, so she wasn't able to be at Raw last night. But no, Dewdrop was a baby face, but she can be a heel. She can be a very, very evil heel. I think they need to let some of them go again. Again, this is where I think WWE doesn't allow enough creative freedom for the performers. They allow it with certain performers, but not every. You have to. I guess you almost have to earn that respect to be able to be able to do that. But at the same time, to me, some of them, what they want them, what do you have to do to earn it? What is the difference? I think ultimately, look, you can write everything you want on paper, but when you watch some of these talents perform in the ring and see what they can do, some of the shit needs to be scrapped and redone and get the best out of them instead of just being like, well, we've already written her to do this, so we're going to keep her doing this. No, that's what leads to crappy storylines. That's what leads to crappy character development. That's what leads to fans losing interest in the character or in the performer. And then once you lose them, it's very hard to get them back. Very hard. Who getting the Flair final match pay-per-view? I don't know. I don't know. I might get the pay-per-view, but more for the Jacob Fatu versus Josh Alexander and some of the interpromotional matches they're going to have on there more than the Ric Flair final match. I what worries me the most right now so far is I believe this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. There's a July. No, I think it's July 31st, right? Not June 31st. I think it's July 27th or 28th, actually. Let me see when the actual Ric Flair's last match. It is going to be, July 31st. I'm sorry. I was thinking it was June 30th. I was about to say it's only 3 days away, but look, man, the one thing that worries me is, it needs to be like a 6-man tag. Throw Flair in if he wants to do a couple little things and then, have him tag out and all that stuff. I don't want to watch a full Ric Flair match. I don't even want to watch him get bumped. He's 76 years old. It's one of those things, man. And you guys are saying in the chat, he said, he's nothing without wrestling. And man, I've watched, there's a picture surfacing on Twitter and he's got like these cuts. They say he's going to bleed and it looks like, I don't know. It's getting sadder and sadder before it gets to July 31st is what I'll say on that end of it. Let's see. I'll get into the Claudio here in a moment when I talk about a little Forbidden Door. I was away for most of Cena's career, but is he really the greatest WWE superstar, better than The Rock, Stone Cold, Hogan, Bruno? I was surprised to hear them say he was the GOAT. Thoughts? Depends how you look at it, man. I mean, John Cena, the person, the man has got what I read somewhere. He has more Make-A-Wish, more of the Make-A-Wishes than he does professional wrestling matches. He's done almost over, I think it's like 680 something Make-A-Wishes, and he's wrestled 675 matches or something. It was something like that. But as a person, he's probably one of the greatest WWE superstars as a person and as outside. And I guess, for WWE, he's never once left. He's never once teetered. He's always walked the company line no matter what. So in those aspects, yes, Hogan built WWE. Stone Cold was the most grossing superstar in WWE. All of them have their own, The Rock is a hell of a lot more entertaining than Cena. They all have their different aspects of being the greatest WWE superstar. They throw that around now like the legend word and everything else. Now you're just the greatest WWE superstar of all time. It's The Rock. Hey, the greatest WWE superstar of all time is John Cena. It just depends who's there. That's what it's become now. But he's up there. Greatest wrestler of all time. Yeah, no. Those get into, again, as I said on here, I will never argue anybody's top 5 of all time because you always go for what you know or what you like, your style. So let's see, Rock, Austin, Undertaker. Rock is better than Cena. The Mount Rushmore. Again, it depends. Is it Mount Rushmore of pro wrestlers? Mount Rushmore of, who built pro wrestling? A Mount Rushmore of drawing in wrestling? There's so many different aspects to it because of the entertainment and everything else. Frankie said Nizzle at Hogan. So you think it's Hogan, Rock, Austin, Undertaker? Again, that's not a bad, let's see, Sean, your top 5. Dude, if I'm in your top 5, man, you got very low standards, buddy. Very low standards. I don't know if you can even see. Where am I at? Right there. Right there. That's who you got in your all-time. Although I'm holding a championship in that one at least. But that's who you've got as one of your top 5 wrestlers. Ay, Dios mío. Maybe top 5 wrestlers from 826 57th Avenue to 67th Avenue. I can be the top 5 wrestler in that little area. I'll take that. But Cap for Life, let's see. Top 5 wrestlers all time. See, again, it goes back to, I think you throw in. See, for me, dude, I grew up on Dusty, man. I grew up on Dusty, and I grew up on the NWA until WOR started with WWF at the time. But when you start looking at what is the aspect right now, if you do a Mount Rushmore, you've got to have Hogan. He built it, along with Vince McMahon. He's not really a wrestler, but when you look at it, there's no wrestling if it's not for Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan. There's really not. And I guess you could throw, and this is weird, but you can throw the Iron Sheik into that as well, because if the Iron Sheik would have took Vern Gagne's money and broke Hogan's leg, where is the WWE today? Could you imagine that? If the Iron Sheik took Vern Gagne's money and broke Hulk Hogan's leg, he never captures the title, where is pro wrestling today? But I think you guys have hit the top four. I think, again, it looks at it as, look, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair to me, when you look at NWA. Top 5 wrestling commentators. Oh, Jesus. Oh my God. Gordon Soley, Jim Ross, Lance Russell, Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone might be in there, and Bobby Heenan. Let's see, Thez, Gagne, Flair, Bruno. Yeah, no, I mean, again, if you want to go back and you look at some, I mean, we're not even throwing some of the international guys in here that have, I mean, look, the Muda over here, great Muda. A lot of people only know him from the NWA, but I mean, they bridged that gap of Japan to, Moro is very good. Moro is very good. I just don't have him in my top 5. Moro is right now is one of the better ones. Jim Ross is he's still there, but he's not where he used to be. Man, see, Gorilla Monsoon. I might have to kick Tony Schiavone out and put Gorilla Monsoon. There's probably 6, 5A, 5B, Yeah, and as Greater Good said, please hit the like button. Man, I whiffed on Gorilla Monsoon. And you know who else I used to like? Lord Alfred Hayes. Back in the WWE days. Antonio Rocca. Yep. I used to, when you look at, again, when you look at, top 5, I think everybody's can be different for different reasons too. But I think when you look at I know Hogan's got to be there to me, because without him as the pro wrestler, there's no pro wrestling. Stone Cold's one of the top grossing, or is the top grossing, superstar of all time. And then you can go from there. I mean, Undertaker, for what he's did and how long he did, that, do you put him in there? Greater Good said Gordon Soley, then there are the rest. Dude, he was the soundtrack of my childhood. Championship Wrestling from Florida. Every Saturday night, every Saturday morning, it was that. And then he was on Georgia Championship Wrestling for a little bit. And then Jim Crockett brought over, and it became David Crockett and Tony Schiavone. But man, dude, Bruno, which Von Erich, Flair, Hogan, Rock. Again, man. I mean, I don't know. I might have to, Von Erich, you'd have to say, but again, it goes by who your favorites. To me, your top 5 all time is going to be kind of your 5 favorites. I mean, like for me, when I wrestled, I always liked, Triple H, Chris Benoit, Y2J, D'Lo Brown. Those guys were kind of the guys, because a lot of their moves I could do. So they I was able to watch their moves and kind of do their type of match, because I wasn't a high flyer. I was very, I used to do the D'Lo sit out slam, and all that stuff. I did the spine buster of Triple H. Just different, moves the move sets that I always did. Attitude Era was the best. Hasn't been the same since. Yeah, but again, I don't think you'll ever get the Attitude Era back, there's no way, man. There's no way in this. Imagine Morrow and Pat McAfee on the same commentary tent. No, Pat McAfee's doing good too as well, but and again, it goes to, I think, Vince allowing him to be himself too on there. What was your top finishing move, Sean? I did a spine buster, and then I flipped it over into a Boston Crab, and then also I did a face plant where, not an RKO, they standing up, and then I dropped back and dropped them straight face first down. It's kind of a move they could catch out of anywhere, because I always liked that the RKO could hit out of anywhere. And I thought as a finishing move, it should be something that, you could be kind of dazed and confused, and then all of a sudden catch them, bam, 1, 2, 3. Those to me are the best finishing moves are the ones you can hit out of anywhere, which is why I think RKO is probably one of the best finishing maneuvers right now. Franklin Rizzo says, good evening all. Been MIA. I've been busy with school and work. Well, I'm glad to have you back today, and we're glad you're in here with us. And I saw somebody else up here. What's the deal with Vince? He got #me too. Yeah, well, apparently it's just everything that he's done has come back to bite him there, Nizzle. There was a NDA he signed for, I guess, $3 million is $1 million now, and then the other $2 million over a 3-year or 5-year period. But now the story's resurfacing of a referee back in the 80s. And again, this is what, and they're dug into that one non-disclosure, and they found other non-disclosures with other female performers. So this is where, now again, as a publicly traded company, there's going to be some investigations, and that's what's happening now. The board of directors are going through, and the 4 that are not involved in it, of course, is Vince McMahon himself, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, and Nick Khan. It's the other 8 members of the board of directors are going through there. Boss B, what's up, buddy? Ain't seen you in a while on here, man. Good to have you back on there as well. Nobody does the sleeper anymore. They do. It's like every move that happens. This is what happens in pro wrestling. Remember, the DDT used to be a finish. Remember, Harley Race's finish used to be a suplex. That's right. You heard me, a suplex. He would hold him up for about a count of 10 and then drop him down and then pin him 1, 2, 3. What happens now with the suplex? People just get up. That's why, again, it gets to the point to where, what are you going to do for a finisher sooner or later? What's going to be the finisher? What are you going to do? Pile driver from the roof? Get raised up on a forklift and then do a pile driver from the forklift? Problems with finishing moves. They become false finishes, and then one thing after another. Watching NXT live right now. Good little match going on. I didn't catch the name. I think this is the new guy, Vidi. Not sure what his first name is. Want to get into a little bit of AEW Forbidden Door. The door was kicked down this past Sunday. Jon Moxley became the interim AEW heavyweight champion. So he'll verse CM Punk when CM Punk returns. He beat Tanahashi. Jay White, he kept his IWGP title. He beat Adam Cole, Hangman, Adam Page, and Okada. Thunder Rosa kept the AEW. FTR now is a triple, threat tag team. They have the AAA titles, the Ring of Honor titles, and now are the IWGP. And of course, as said earlier, Claudio, I'm going to say this wrong, and I've been practicing it all day. Castagnoli. He debuted, formerly known as Cesaro. He is now part of the Blackpool Combat Club. So he ended up taking Daniel Bryan's place. And he will also be in Blood and Guts. Tony Khan also came out and said they did over $5 million in pay-per-view buys. That's a little over 100,000 around that. Again, numbers still coming in. And they did over 1 million at the gate. So all in all, pretty successful pay-per-view for AEW. And ultimately, I know New Japan says they want to do it again. I like the signing of Cesaro. The only thing is, and I saw it already on Twitter, is that everybody's like, oh, Cesaro's got to get pushed. Cesaro's got to get pushed. I mean, pushed where? Remember, he's a member of the Blackpool Combat Club. Who is the heavyweight champion right now, the interim champion? Jon Moxley. Is he going to fight Moxley? I don't see that happening. CM Punk's on out injured. He's got to come back. It's going to be Moxley and Punk to first before anything else gets settled. And then at some point, you've got Wardlow in the works. You've got Miro that's just come back. You got to find a place for Adam Cole. You got Hangman Adam Page, Bryan Danielson. I mean, where? I mean, I 100% agree with the signing of Cesaro, or I'm going to call him Cesaro. Claudio. We'll call him Claudio. You could push him to be the TNT champ, but is that why you make the signing? You know what I'm saying? They have to get they have to find a way, and I think they're going to have to get more TV time. The 2 hours on TBS is not going to work because Rampage is 1 hour. Sometimes it's live, and then the other times it's taped from Dynamite. And when it's taped from Dynamite, they're not even getting 300,000 views. And to put that in context, Miz and Mrs. after Raw last night did over 500,000 views. Rampage is not getting 383 views. So they're going to have to find a way, because I love the dark, and I love the dark elevations on YouTube. But you can't have Cesaro, Bryan Danielson, and all them wrestling on your YouTube channel. I mean, right now, your two biggest draws are guys that were not originally AEW guys. Well, I guess Moxley technically was an original because he was on the first show that they did. So I can throw him as an AEW original. But they got to do something. I mean, and Frankie says, do you think AEW can get TBS to do the 3 hours? I don't know that they want to go to 3 hours on Wednesday. I don't. I think you want to find maybe another 2 hours on another day. I mean, maybe do a Saturday show, 2 hours on a Saturday or something. I mean, again, we talked about it a little bit here. Maybe do a Saturday night like they used to do on TBS. You know, and a lot of those recorded at studios. And I'm not saying that you can't record and have them out, but they've got to start showcasing some of these guys in better matches than a rushed 10-minute tag team match on TV, because you're trying to get in and out on the timing of the show. The timing of the show gets messed up, and then what are you going to do? You can't, you know, they're not going to let you go over. It's like pay-per-view. If you've bought to 11 o'clock at 10:59, you've got 1 minute. You better take that shit home. And TBS doesn't really give them, the one time they gave them the 5 minutes, they didn't use it really. So we'll have to see where that goes from there. Sorry, comment got my eye there. Let's see. Let's go back through here. There's a lot from the old days I miss. Greater good, sleeper hold, foreign objects and tights, back by drop, bring him in the hard way, on and on. And that was one of the things, actually, I don't know if you guys listen to Oh You Didn't Know podcast. Brian James. He does the Oh You Didn't Know podcast. And he was talking about, he's like, every match now on TV, everybody feels has to be clean or one clean. I like last night, Miz just walked out and it was a count out. I'm not saying you got to do that for every match, but every match doesn't have to have a clean winner and a loser, man. To me, that's how you build things up. I would love to see more of the foreign objects and things like that. Actually, last week on NXT, they used the brass knuckles and they slid it in. The wrong guy got him, of course, caught the guy, and then got the pinfall. But things like that, I'm all for that, man. They gotta bring some back, some of the old stuff, you know. CCW this past Saturday in Port St. Lucie. Oh, okay. There's a show here this week in Hialeah, huh? I will be out of town. I head to Fort Myers and then I come back in time to fly out to Vegas. Let's see. Frankie Fresco says, Boss Beware in Hialeah. I'm sure you guys are already talking that out. J Rock says, it's this Big O show, son. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's in English. Steve Chapman says 2 hours, plenty for me. I don't want any more than that. No, I think a 2-hour show is good. When I say they need more time, it's for a different day, a different time slot, not for adding, you know, another hour on top of the 2 that's already there. 2 hours to me is perfect. Is perfect. So we'll see. Just so everybody knows that the CCW show is at Unbranded Brewing Company. So that's in Hialeah there. Trying to think what else I wanted to talk about from Forbidden Door. I think that was about it. Jay White was a little hot after the show. I don't think they were happy with the way the show ended. Again, it was an injury to Adam Cole, and I think on the side of safety, they took it home. So I don't have an issue with that. I'd rather err on the side of safety and have everybody kind of like, you know, whatever. But let's see. I don't mind the 3 hours. The ending sucked. Let's see. Frank says, I hate the way it ended. They should have had Moxley and the other guy stay in the middle and get a round of applause, in my opinion. Yeah, but at the same time, they're trying to sell their blood and guts pay-per-view, man. I mean their blood and guts show for Wednesday, and they had a lot of eyes on this because of the New Japan and everything else. So it comes down to business from there. I think, you know, again, Tony Khan has to get his product across. This is probably the most eyes other than All Out. I think it was All Out. I think it was this year's All Out. This was the second highest pay-per-view. So ultimately, I mean, I think Tony Khan kind of, you know, a lot of the politics and making sure everybody was okay with the finishes and how everything was going to go down. I think all that was worked out very well throughout the pay-per-view, but Tony Khan wanted it to end, I believe, with you remembering about an AEW angle. And that's kind of why that happened the way it did with Jericho and the Jericho Appreciation Society and all them hitting. And again, and also you bring back out Claudio and he does the spin, you know, all that stuff. So, I mean, ultimately, I again, it comes down to politics and getting the show over. I know it probably wasn't the ending that the AEW fans or the, you know, New Japan wrestling fans wanted, but Frankie asks, is New Japan going to be a thing, or was it just a one-time thing? Also, I like they brought the ring announcer for New Japan. My understanding is New Japan, the owner, liked everything that went down and the way everything was worked out, and there wasn't a lot of animosity. Believe it or not, the only animosity came from, I don't know if it was AAA per se, but they wouldn't allow Penta and Andrade and the other, drawing a blank on his name. Can't think of his name right now off the top of my head, but they would not allow them on the show because it was New Japan. And I guess they work with All Japan or another company in Japan. So they were not allowed to work with them because they have a contract with AAA. What I find weird is FTR are the AAA tag team champions, and they were on the card. But I guess they don't have the deal worked out with AAA, the deal that Andrade and the others do. So again, comes down to contracts and all that stuff. And the one thing with AEW is they have guys on contracts with other companies. They have left that open, but AEW gets first, then it goes to AAA and so on there. So they have a working relationship with a lot of the companies. Impact and MLW now look like they're going to get into more of a working relationship, which I'm pretty excited to see, because I'm telling you now, Josh Alexander against Jacob Fatu, that's going to be on the Ric Flair last match card. I'm really looking forward to that. If you have not seen Jacob Fatu, man, he can go, man. He can go. And Josh Alexander I watched the Impact pay-per-view, the Slammiversary pay-per-view the other night, and him and Eric Young, man, they tore each other apart. They went at it. And I didn't like Josh Alexander a lot as a tag team wrestler. But now that I started watching him a little bit more on the single side, I like what I see with Josh Alexander as well. But there's a lot of interesting things that can happen. And again, the door's not, I don't think, closed 100% on Impact and AEW doing anything either. I just think that there's some working things that have to be worked out that, again, when you send over talent, Deonna Purrazzo is being pushed by Impact. She was the ROH champion. She came over, did the job in less than 10 minutes on an AEW card to, I believe it was Mercedes Martinez. I believe it was. And, and I don't think that rubbed the Impact guys the right way. They sent Morrissey over. He got beat by Wardlow, kind of a squash match. But they did honor the wish of not power bombing him 7 times like he does everybody else. He just did one power bomb and he pinned him. But now Morrissey's no longer with Impact. Will we see him resurface with AEW? Will he go back to WWE? Jesse Elabon is awesome as well. Didn't know she's on NXT. Is she on NXT? I'm going to check her out, Boss B. But yeah, and honestly, CCW is where I got to see Jacob Fatu. It was at the Dania Beach casino. He, I want to say he fought Alex Chamberlain, I believe, that night. No, it was him and Lance Anoy. They did a tag team match. I'm sorry. They did a tag team match, and that was the first time I got to see him and see the ability and the agility of the big man up close. I always watched the matches and his highlights, but to watch him, methodically do each move, it's very. He almost reminds me of a more athletic, if you remember back in the day, and some of you older wrestling fans will, the Samoans. But think of them being able to move, let's see, like the Tonga Kid, using another Samoan, and fly like the Tonga Kid. Jacob Fatu takes his size and his ability and just does everything and puts it all together. To me, I don't know why he's not on one of the big twos, unless he doesn't want to, or maybe that's his own personal decision, but more power to him. She was released. Okay. Yeah, they have a lot. It's very interesting with NXT. They have a lot of female performers, and they use the same ones over and over and over. They haven't been pushing anybody. Let's see. Can pro wrestling ever make a mainstream comeback, or is it doomed to go the way of the circus? I don't know it's going to make a mainstream comeback the way it was during the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars. You'll never get that again. But as far as it being mainstream, Raw was the number 3 show on cable TV, and AEW Dynamite was number 10. So, it's not that they're they're that far off. It's just, I don't think everybody watches TV the same anymore. I don't think you have any shows. I mean, maybe your Super Bowls and things like that are still making huge numbers, but pro wrestling will never be back to what it was unless something happens with the streaming services or something like that, or DVR stop or something like that. Then you might get some of the numbers. Because remember, back in the day, it was Raw was doing a 4-1 and Nitro did a 3-9. You're never getting those numbers. The business dying because of cord cutting. I just think everybody, it goes the same thing with everything, man. I mean, I'll just put it this way. Nizzle, you're one of the one. I mean, if you don't have cable anymore, you're one of, again, the numbers are going to drop because most people don't have cable anymore. There's a lot of people that do not have cable anymore. So when you watch anything, you watch it through a different avenue, maybe YouTube, maybe, whatever else. You're watching it somewhere else. That's why the numbers today are they're very small. I will tell you this, they beat the NHL playoffs. They beat the NHL Stanley Cups. They were doing 1-3s. Raw did a 1-9. And AEW is just a little bit under that. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to say that I don't think it's doomed to the circus. I watch WrestleMania on Peacock. Yeah, that's the other thing too with WWE is you don't have to, you don't even have to order a pay-per-view anymore. Like, for instance, the pay-per-view just happened with AEW, the Forbidden Door. That was, I think, $49.99. WWE, you have a $4.99 membership and you get the pay-per-views for free. Any chance AEW goes to Paramount? No. But there is a chance it might go to HBO Max because HBO Max is under the Discovery banner. So it might be under HBO Max is what I've heard discussed. Now, will it ever move there? I don't know, because remember now, Tony Khan has built up his library pretty good because he owns Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor has over, I think, 1,200 hours of matches of, Tyler Black, Seth Rollins. Well, now Claudio's back over in there. John Moxley, of course. Daniel Bryan. You have all those, Bryan Danielson. You have all those guys were in Ring of Honor. And those matches are owned now by Tony Khan. He purchased it, and he's building up a library. Plus, they have all the AEW pay-per-views now, all the AEW shows. All that library is being built up. So now, ultimately, when they do get a streaming, they have a lot of content that can start going up there. Not to mention they're already doing podcasts and different avenues as well. So again, everybody watches it differently these days. That's the other thing why I don't think. Who do you think Moxley will lose the belt to? I don't think he loses the belt until CM Punk. I don't think you lose the belt. I think because CM Punk comes back, it's Punk against Moxley, and we go from there. The only other thing I can see is, again, I don't know where this whole thing with MJF goes. They've kept it very, Discovery said they didn't want him on any of the promotions. I don't know how much is a work, how much is a shoot. But I think if you want to do something, you could end up having, Moxley maybe do an open challenge, have MJF come out, capture the title, and put MJF against CM Punk to unify the belts again, if you want to go that route. But ultimately, I don't think they go any route except for Moxley against CM Punk once Punk returns. And again, that depends on how quickly he returns. It's a foot injury. Those bones are very, very small, very, again, and when you're wrestling, you're pushing off. When you're jumping and everything else, how what was broken? What was the surgery for? How's it heal? It's going to be a lot of questions that got to be answered on how quickly CM Punk can return. So there's one other thing. Sean is going to convert you to the dark side. Oh, we'll never go to the dark side. Oh, we'll never go to the dark side. I can tell you now. Never. All right, guys. I want to thank everybody in there. Steve, Orlando for jumping in at the end there. Nizzle, Boss B. Let's see who else we got. Steve, I said, George, J-Rock. Let's see. Boss B, Dad, Jaime, Heat Fins, Cap for Life, Franklin, Greater Good. All you guys, man. I appreciate, love you all. Appreciate you jumping on here, talking some wrestling. Don't forget, Thursday night, 8 o'clock. We'll be right here talking more wrestling. AEW Blood and Guts tomorrow night. It's Jericho Appreciation Society against Eddie Kingston, John Moxley, Santana, and Ortiz, and, of course, Claudio Castagnoli now. And, and as we talked about it earlier, one of the greatest pro wrestling broadcasters ever. In the words of the great Gordon Soley, so long from the Sunshine State.
Red, an infrared light, has the capacity to penetrate deep into the cell's mitochondria, potentially leading to increased energy, faster recovery, and the optimal performance your body demands. Red Recover can maximize your efforts by potentially improving cellular metabolism, blood circulation, and muscle recovery. Evolve your training and step into the new era of muscle recovery. Red Recover.